What is up, guys? Welcome to the Unfazed Facts podcast, a podcast dedicated to all things Gym Leader Challenge. I'm Joshua, and I'm with Jeff Bache, and we are your co-hosts for the podcast. And, it's been we just got off of Memorial Day weekend not too long ago, so I went to Tennessee myself. I asked Jeff to meet me, but he did not. He said, screw that.
Tennessee too far, dude, man. It's like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 hours. I'm not driving 4 or 5 hours. I like you a lot, though. All right, I like you a lot.
Yeah.
But 4 to 5 hours, a little much. My parents are in Atlanta, and I barely see them. So.
Oh yeah. I figured it was a lot closer. It was a 10-hour drive for me. And there's this workout. Some people might have heard it. Some people that haven't. It's called Murph. It was like one of those hero workouts dedicated to fallen heroes in the active duty. And usually I try to do it every year. And I found a random gym that was doing it at 8 o'clock on the 24th. It was called CrossFit Combustion. And anyways, I had a good time, celebrating Memorial Day weekend doing that. That was the most exciting part. But then we drove back 10 hours. So it was pretty great. And I'm still slightly recovering from all of that jazz. What did you do for your Memorial Day weekend?
Dude, it was just another Monday. I mean, School ended on Friday. And then, my wife works the weekend. So Monday, it was just like the whole family got to hang out, which is something that doesn't happen. It's either like my wife or me with little man. But this, Monday, we got to just hang out. And then it's just been like a week of like family time hanging out together. It's been really nice. People think that like teachers just kind of like dip out on the summer. But really, we're just raising our own kids, man. I get to finally get a chance to just hang out with Ollie and do some things. I mean, we did trampoline park this week. He got to go to a pool party today. We got a pool, like one of those kind of inflatable pools in our backyard. We've been doing that. I mean, he's going to be so sunburned by the end of the summer. I mean, it's good. We're just hanging out. It's great. We've had some thunderstorms, so we've had to get creative on the inside, playing with some magnet tiles. By the way, we are not sponsored by magnet tiles, but they are awesome. If you have a kid that's 3 or up, check out magnet tiles. They are super awesome. I love them so much. But yeah, dude, that's my Memorial Day week has been that. What's been a little annoying is, Ollie has gymnastics on Thursday. So we hopped in the car to take him to gymnastics. People took the whole week off. I didn't realize this. So like his gymnastics gym just decided to like take the whole week off, didn't send us an email or anything. So I was like, I mean, like kudos to them for getting their rest in. Like I'm all about mental health, but like send us an email next time. That's all I need, because we were all psyched. This is going to be my first time, seeing my 3-year-old do gymnastics, and my wife gets to see it every week. I was like, yes, let's see Ollie do some flips or somersaults, or at least listen to someone giving him direction, which is something I don't get to see very often. But it didn't quite work out today, but we still had a really fun time anyway.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. Being able to get to spend time with family that you don't usually get everybody together, or your wife and the kid and you all together. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's a bummer that gymnastics was closed.
Yeah, it'll be fine. He'll get gymnastics again. He's got swim lessons was closed too this week. So like Tuesdays are swim lessons place. So that's actually why we ended up going to the trampoline place. Is right next to his swim lessons is big air trampoline. This was my first time ever at a trampoline park, by the way, and that place was wild. It was supposed to be toddler time, but there were like 15-year-olds there just like jumping around, chilling out. And I was like, Ollie, maybe we should go over here, like trying to guide him to like the less crowded places so that my 3-year-old didn't get trampled. So like that was a new experience.
No pun intended.
So, yeah, exactly.
No pun intended. Trampled at trampoline park.
But it was a fun time. Kudos to trampoline parks. I don't know if we had those sorts of things when I was growing up. I sound old, Josh, saying these sorts of things, but do you remember like trampoline parks or like indoor playgrounds really when you were younger?
Indoor playgrounds, yes, at your local McDonald's, which they seem to be taking those out, along with the Nintendo 64 games that they let you play. Did you ever have that?
I do remember that.
The bomb.
Yeah, I do remember
that was the bomb. But other than that, no, it was just if your friend had a trampoline, that was the only trampoline you got to get on.
And sometimes that trampoline got taken away because they broke their arm.
Or the spring did something crazy.
Oh, the springs. Oh, man. Fortunately, none of those at the trampoline park. Trampoline park was very clean, very well kept. So maybe it's because they're so new. Who knows? But shout out to trampoline parks. As a teacher, I was so against them because my only experience with trampoline parks, like when I was teaching middle school, was watching kids come in with wheelchairs. And so I was always like, okay, trampoline parks, no go. Like my kid's never going to go there. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like breaking bones is part of being a kid. Go trample.
Bro, I'm trying to picture just people going in that are walking into trampoline parks and then leaving in wheelchairs.
And I'm talking like ACL tears, broken bones. I mean, at least a twisted ankle every week, man. Like it surprises me like that this was allowed to happen. And of course, like they're like, hey, do you have your waiver for your 3-year-old? I'm like, does he need a waiver? Like that's like the first thing. But he's got special socks now. It's just a whole thing. But man, it's fun. It's fun.
My darling.
Next time I'm gonna get some socks. This time I was kind of just on like the watch. Next time I'm gonna be bouncing right there next to him though.
Please, and send us a video.
Well, he'll have to be recording. Yeah, my understanding is he's not the best at paying attention.
Ollie, hold this right here. All right. Something that is coming out soon this weekend is Destined Arrivals. Prepare for trouble and make it double. R.I.P. Jesse and James, because they're not even there anymore. They took them out of the anime. They said, get them out of here.
Yeah, but I mean, Ash is gone too, right? It's a new thing. We got new people. Jesse and James are still there somewhere out in the ether. They're not gone. They're not dead. They're just, maybe they retired from their life of crime.
Doing some cameos, kind of like, his name is escaping me. He's the creator of the Marvel comics.
If you had not mentioned him, Stanley.
If you would not have said anything about him, I would have known about it.
Exactly. Like I would have remembered his name. I was just thinking about Marvel Order today, being like, I should rewatch some of the good ones. I have not seen any of the new ones, by the way. So
good ones pre the first Avengers. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think I was going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy today. I was like, that one's pretty good. I think the first Iron Man was like really, really good. Like actually good film. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many things to watch. Even some of the TV shows, like I really enjoyed WandaVision,
Yeah, they used to have some depth.
Yeah. There's a lot that was in Marvel's defense, since we're on kind of like the Marvel topic. We're kind of getting off topic today, Josh, and I'm kind of in Marvel's defense, like the depth is from the quantity now, right? Like before, like the singular films were kind of important. And now there's just so much world building and the world has already been built, right? Like, and as someone who loves reading fantasy, like Brandon Sanderson's like one of my favorites. So like I like the world building aspect, but I am a little burnt out on it. It's just been like too much recently. So I feel like everyone is probably on that same train with me. But I mean, I've had too much Pokemon my entire life and I still enjoy it. So who knows? Maybe it's the right goal.
There's something about it. It's different, man. It hits different.
Yeah.
It hits different. But to get us started, Jeff, I want you to talk about the first Pokemon that we're going to talk about in Destined Rivals, because I know you love them.
Oh yeah, baby! Always play your bench barrier. We got the new Shaymin. So it's got Flower Curtain, which may or may not be the ability. Cards are already out, so I know that people know them. Just none of the English versions are online just yet. So we're still operating off of what's on Justin Basil. Shout out to Justin Basil. But we got Flower Curtain as the ability. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon without a rules box, which is, hey, everything in Gym Leader Challenge. And so it's really cool. Obviously, 80 HP is a little bit of a downside because we all want to be buddy poffing these days. So having that 80 HP just slip right under that 70 HP kind of ceiling that buddy poffin has. One retreat, ideal there. Just good. And to be honest, even though it's 80 HP and you can't get it off of buddy poffin, you do kind of protect yourself from a lot of things, right? Like if you think about, Halucha plus what ends up being the Hitmontop turn, which gets rid of so many 70 HP bench barriers, this gets just kind of right over that with that 80 HP. So the 80 HP might be pretty relevant, but I just think with like a lot of emerging grass decks, Josh, you see kind of like the the Cherim Eldegoss builds kind of like having a resurgence recently. I think the Shaman's going to be really important for what Grass is going to be doing in the future, being able to protect some of those lower HP support Pokemon. So I don't know, Josh, what do you think? Is this going to put Grass maybe up a tier from what we both feel like has been kind of a decline since the format's inception?
I mean, to be honest, I think Shaymin is going to up level a lot of the grass decks, especially grass decks that like to have a longer game, that might
Hmm.
have a lot of setup going on. A Shaymin is going to be really good at being able to protect all your Pokemon on the bench while you're setting up and getting things going, which, I mean, everything GOC, most of the time you're trying to go 5 wide on the bench and you're, just setting up protecting things. But like decks like, I know that Wo Chien is one of those decks that likes to go all the way to the bottom of the deck and then be able to rely on being able to recycle cards and keeping 3 cards or less in the deck to be able to do things. And a lot of the time, by then, you're slim pickings on your resources to get things back in and your Pokemon probably on the bench. Well, Shaming kind of helps keep everything together, keep everything alive on the bench. And that could be said the same for any style of grass deck that if spread becomes like a archetype that is just widespread, no pun intended, dominating, then, you know, Shaman is just one of those things like Manaphy. You see water decks play Manaphy, not all the time, but they've got it. Same with Psychic, except they got two, so they got a little bit more versatility on if they want to use or utilize Muse, Psy Power, or Mr. Mime. But you know, just to kind of bring it back full circle, Shaman as a grass bench protector is amazing.
Yeah.
And it's also, we need to look at the silver lining. Still level ball searchable, not 100 HP or anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, Grass has tons of Pokemon search too, right? Like just getting one Grottle and like an Artisan or a Turfield and like your entire
Yeah.
thing is rolling, right? I think this is cool. Back in the day when we look at like traditional Rillasaur lists, they're playing the Cricketune that boost HP, and that was always kind of just like it was a safety net. It was really cool when you were like trading one for one, and like maybe it lets you like tank a hit and then respond, but like it was always just kind of like I don't know. It didn't help you a ton in the spread matchup because if they just played a hex and shut it off on that turn, then all of a sudden it's a multi KO turn that maybe you weren't expecting, or it just didn't feel like the protection you need. So Shaman maybe helps out a little bit there. It's only one spot into this two spots. We have Relor, right, which is like super
Yeah.
bench barrier. But again,
Yeah.
being a stage one makes it a little less playable. So I just like the Shaman a lot. I think it will kind of float in and out of grass list, kind of like what you mentioned, Josh, with the Manaphy. You'll do the kind of the same thing with grass. I don't know. We'll see how it plays. I think it's going to help grass a ton more than people think it
Yeah.
is.
And you mentioned Raylor. It's kind of like Machoke for fighting, super bench barrier. But the difference between like Raylor feels bad, Machoke doesn't necessarily feel bad because you have Machamp. That's just also a super attacker as well if you need it in a pinch later on in the game. Raylor is just kind of there and you don't ever really want to attack with it. You just want it to be there.
Yeah, Relor does help boost Torterra's attack though, right? Whereas Shaman doesn't. So now Shaman is sitting on your bench and not
Yeah.
contributing to Torterra in any way. Which, like, to be honest, like your bench is probably full of other evolutions, and you're probably doing 200 damage without the Shaman, which is enough to KO most things. So I don't think Torterra will feel the hurt that much from playing the Shaman over the Raylor, but just
Yeah.
something to consider. Having a spot on your
Yeah.
bench being taken up by Shaman might be something that turns you off from playing it.
Yeah. That's definitely a good point. Actually a good point.
I have them every now and
Yeah, finally, man.
then. Well, in our
I'm
fire lineup is a card I'm really excited about, Josh. It's this Rapidash with a hurried gallop ability. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. What do you think?
I'm a big fan of this Rapidash, and I kind of delved into just kind of reading about it and just kind of seeing some other ideas. Um, already I'm a big fan of the Rapidash Macaro combo to where it just turns it into a quick search, or you just there's nothing wrong with drawing a card for free without having to discard anything. It's awesome. So Rapidash alone is just really awesome, really good. But I have seen some X-netting, like just getting rid of Macargo and going Salazzle and Rapidash, so you can just have a bunch of draw. So Salazzle lets you discard a fire energy card from your hand. If you do, draw 3 cards. Rapidash lets you draw a card for free. Therefore, you got 4 cards. Now, you didn't get the pick with Macargo necessarily, but you do get a lot of draw. And there's other decks that we see that have a lot of draw without having to pick their cards. One of them is Colorless. Colorless has Chinchino or Mincino or Cincino, however you want to say it. You got that. You've got Bibarel. You have Instruct, Primate, and Squovit. So you have a lot of different, like they definitely Colors has the more superior type of draw, but it kind of mirrors ish, getting you getting you a little bit more cards available to draw. So I'm not necessarily the biggest fan since we do have the choice of choosing. So I definitely favor Rapidash Macargo, being able to just get it for free, not having to get rid of a fire energy that we may want to keep. Although, you know, you have Blacksmith and just different start cards like that to be able to get it out. I like the ability to pick and then draw exactly what I want and then use it. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
my
I'm with
two
you.
cents.
Yeah, the fact that it's just unconditional, just draw a card, and the fact that Macargo is just so good. I mean, smooth over any card, stack it on top of your deck. Rapidash just lets you get it. And I think the games that I've been playing with Salazzle, and this is just anecdotal, it feels like I'm probably averaging a card a turn with Salazzle, because there are turns when I just can't use it because all my energy has been, not in hand, or
Yeah.
I've discarded already, or something else has happened. So it just, Salazzle can feel bad, right? Like, and that's probably confirmation bias to a certain degree. Just like the feels bads are worse than the good goods, right? But like with Rapidash, it's just once a turn. So like you always have a chance, and feeling like you always have a chance is way better than just being like, I can't do anything. I mean, the cards are almost identical too when you look at them, right? Like 60 damage from both of them for a fire and a colorless, over 100 HP, so you can't get them off level ball, and then both have 1 retreat. So it's really just like, are you playing enough fire energy to justify Salazzle, or is it just maybe better to just have the sure thing? And at this point in my career, give me the sure thing, Josh. I just want the sure thing. I can't gamble anymore. It hasn't paid off.
Hey, before we started, what were we doing? How do we put this content gambling?
We're not gambling, Josh. We're playing Rapidash. All right. So I'll at least be trying it out. I mean, drawing 3 is powerful.
Yeah.
Drawing 1 every turn, no conditions. Pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And to kind of confirm you a little bit more, don't get me wrong, I love Rev of Room or anything like it, or anything like where you have to discard a card to draw more cards when it works. But most of the time, especially playing Metal, I'm Metal Makering or anything like that, or I've got the Stadium out, but I've got too many cards in my hand and I can't discard, or maybe I have no energy and not a whole lot of cards at all, and I'm just sitting there a lot of the time. So unconditional drawing, I think, is always better than conditional drawing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you need a lot, right? Like, you think about what Fire has access to, and you think that Salazzle should work more than it does. You got Giant Hearth, you've got Fire Crystal, you've got all these wonderful ways to get fire energy to your hand outside of what cards every other type can play to, because that's just Fire's thing. Put fire in the discard energy, get it back. It just doesn't quite feel that same way when you're playing with it, which is why we've always, since we've had this podcast, felt like Fire has been bottom tier type. Does Rapidash move it up? I think maybe it, in combination with some other cards, is kind of starting to turn the dial a little bit, Josh. And I think that this next card we're going to talk about is one of those big reasons why.
I do agree. Let's look at it.
Well, not this one. It's the next one. The next one, chat.
This one, I'll glaze over it so you can talk about the next one, all right? We got Ethan's Cyndaquil, Ethan's Quilava, Ethan's Typhlosion. Stage 2, it's a 3-stage line. It doesn't have the best attack because Buddy Blast does 40 plus 60 more damage for Ethan's adventure card in your discard pile for 1 energy. I mean, 100 for 1 isn't bad, but it's a stage 2. We're looking for more. Steam Artillery does 160 for 2 fire, 1 colorless. Not bad at all. 160 gets knocks out most things anyway. So that's why I kind of just put this in there. And then Ethan's Quilava just lets you search for an Ethan's adventure. So if you somehow miss out on Ethan's adventure, by the time you've got Quilava, you can just get that card, use it to get Typhlosion. So there's a little bit of synergy with it, but not enough to warrant like possibly putting it in your deck. If you like Typhlosion, you can play it though. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah, I'm a huge Typhlosion
if you like
fan.
Typhlosion, yeah, you can play this Typhlosion since it's a trainer's Pokemon and a regular Typhlosion, and you can have double Typhlosion deck. And you can play your fun deck, even though it's not the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, and when you do look at these cards, there's a little bit of role compression. Like Ethan's Quilava sets up Buddy Blast to a certain degree. So like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And 160 for 3, again, like you mentioned, it's the best Typhlosion. That's a big part of it. So you like Typhlosion, play it. But Josh, trainer cards, it's just not hitting for me, man. It just feels like all the trainers cards so far, besides Hops, have been such a miss. And I'm so sad because I was so hyped on what we might be getting. And again, these might be fine in standard. They might be fine in, you know, whatever the build and play version of Pokemon is called again. But man, I feel frustrated. These aren't the cards I was hoping for. And that's on me. I got my hopes up. Sorry, never again.
We'll get more into trainers when we get to trainers, but I feel a very similar sentiment, and I'll talk more about them later. Man, it's not this one either.
No, we put it at the bottom. We're saving the best for last year, and you guys can tell how memorized these presentations are.
I'll let you glaze over this guy.
Yeah, we got Ethan's Macargo here. So hey, continuing on Ethan's train, he might be, besides Hop, Ethan might be the second best trainer, and I love me some Johto. And Ethan, I guess, is whatever the version of Red is from that region. So
I think his name is supposed to be Gold, but they changed it to Ethan.
Cool, I get it. Sure, Gold, Ethan, the same. Calling the other one Silver would be a little weird, though, right? Like, hey, we got Gold and Silver. Okay.
Bro, I don't know.
We'll talk about it later. All right, but Ethan's Macargo, 130 HP. You get to play it with the other Macargo, which is a plus side, and it's kind of cool. So Mountain Flow says it has no energy attached. It has no retreat cost. So it does have 3 retreat, which means it is heavy ball searchable. But again, it could just be a pivot. And then Lava Burst is actually a pretty cool attack. So discard up to 5 fire energy from this Pokemon, and it does 70 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So if you think about it, it's pretty cool if you can get the energy on it. Things to note, the way that this card is translated, and again, I know that versions have been released and we're working with maybe some old data here, but it says card. So Charizard doubling up the energy doesn't matter in this situation because you're discarding cards. It's not energy that's being discarded. So just something to point out here with Lava Burst. And if I'm wrong, someone tell me later, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that as we go through this. So Lava Burst is cool, but I just don't feel like there's the tools to make it work.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those, if you think it's fun, play it. If it's like one of your favorite Pokemon and you've been really wanting to play double Macargo for the longest time, this is your chance.
You can actually play triple Macargo because there's Ethan's Macargo, there's the other Macargo, and then there's one of the Team Magma's Macargo. So if you are a Macargo fan, you can play 3 of them, and they have maybe a little bit of synergy between 2 of them. You might have to put Armor Rouge in a deck, but you could do it.
That might just be a fun deck to go try to win a badge with.
I got my Macargo badge.
I got my triple mag. I'm ready for it.
All right. Dude, is the next one the thing? It's the thing.
It's it, man.
Bummer.
Raikou incarnate.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the big fire card we're going to be talking about is this Blaziken, which is just a monster. 170 HP, stage 2, 2 retreat, first attack heat blast, 2 colors energy does 70, but it's Inferno legs that we care about here. 2 fire
Oh, yeah.
energy and a colorless. It's Raikou, amazing rare Raikou, but it's balanced. So it does 120 to the active, 120 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, but you have to discard. So if you wanted to see what AR Raikou looked like when it would be a completely fine card, it's this. Stage 2, discard cost. I mean, it's good. I mean, it's good. It's what Fire needed. It needed a true 2-for-1. This is it, or at least, you know, a 2 prize taker here. That's what this Blaziken is, Josh. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah. I'm super excited about it as well. It has a, busty 170 HP. That's really good. You know, just just a big dude. Love it. Gotta love that. Torchic, being able to have the ability like that, the ancient trait where you get attacked twice. It's just a good utilization. Being able to uh, like you mentioned row compression earlier, be able to play multiple rows. Not only that it just works as the basic, but you can also use it for Crisis Punch maybe later on in the game, or possibly TM Evolution or anything that you'd like. But man, looking back on it on Raikou, it's crazy to me that it wasn't discard all energy from this Pokemon,
Yeah,
or
I
at least
mean,
2.
it's stupid how busted that card is. And when you think about some of the tools that the format has, like Guzmahala gets you the counter energy plus like Lux Cape. And just thinking like this Raikou as early as turn 2 could be taking 2 KOs. I mean, you're just getting board wiped in 2 turns, and you're afraid to bench, like you're benching to the fodder. I mean, it's crazy how good Raikou was. Can the Blaziken be super busted early on the game? I mean, yeah, but it's going to take something amazing to do it. Like, I don't know how you'd have to have like rare candy on turn 2 plus like welder, like to do something busted like that. And that's just not likely to happen. So again, it's just so balanced yet good. It works with Charizard, which is another stage 2 that you want. You mentioned once your Blaziken gets knocked out, you have access to Torchic and Crisis Punch. Like, just being able to get back the Torchic is just so good. I was playing Torchic just on its own. You know, I tried a different Blaziken, but I was just playing Torchic just because I needed some way to come back if I fell behind, and Fire was likely to fall behind. So now just having multiple ways to take 2 KOs that's not Heatmore. Because let's be honest, Heatmore is a cool card. But man, getting 6 energy or getting 3 energy on it plus Charizard up could be a task. And so just
a bigger package.
Yeah. So now this just needs 3 energy or 2 energy and Charizard. So it's cool. It's going to be good. I just don't know how good it's going to make Fire. Definitely better. Fire's better. But I don't know how good it is.
It'll definitely make me more inclined to play Fire. And I guess 170 HP isn't too busted, but it's more busted than 160, but just less busted than 180.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna enjoy this. It's gonna make me want to build Fire, actually, Blaziken, because third gen is one of my favorite generations for one, and I cannot wait for them to have a reprint set for the 3rd generation.
This is
because they can print more awesome Blazikens and even more awesome Metagross.
Yeah, they need to print like a good. I know we just talking about a bad Typhlosion, but I'm a big Gen 2 guy, so like Gen 3 gets a little bit of love. You know, there's this Blaziken. It's Swampert's Gen 3 too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like there's a couple of good Swamperts, or at least reasonable Swamperts. Just give me a playable Cyndaquil. Give me a better Meganium. Just there's a decent for Alligator. I'll give it at that. But come on, Gen 2, give me some love. I'm hoping with the new video game coming out with Chikorita being spoiled as a starter, I'm hoping that we'll get a good Meganium printing.
Ooh,
Fingers
that
crossed.
would be awesome. That'd be awesome. I mean, most of the time, Inteleon was a really good one. Rillaboom was a really good one. What was that other one?
Score Bunny?
Score Bunny didn't really get a good one.
Dude, Score Bunny has an awesome one, man. The Libero. That's how I got my fire
Yeah.
badge, as I was playing the
Oh,
Libero
really?
Cinderace. So whenever it switches to the active, you get to attach 2 energy from the discard pile to it, and then it does 190 for 3. So like it was actually like a pretty good Pokemon, and it played into what fire was doing. It was just a stage 2 attacker, which I think is the issue. Having a stage 2 attacker can be rough, but I will say that Cinderace is pretty good. Go check it out if you haven't seen it. It's the Libero Cinderace. It good. It good.
It good. You heard it here first. All right. To put out fire, we got some water. And the first water Pokemon we're going to be talking about today is we got Misty's Starmie, 100 HP, so it's just out of level ball range, which really stinks. But it does have this decent attack for 1 water energy sudden flash for 60 plus if it evolved that turn, 80 more damage. So that's going to be around 140 damage for 1 energy, which is not bad at all. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. The thing is that the next turn you're only hitting for 60 because it didn't evolve that turn. And then if you want to try to recycle that, you have access to cards like Scoop Up Net, Devolution Spray to kind of get those things going. Devolution Spray keeps that water energy on there, so you're just de-evolving that. Scoop Up Net does discard the energy, but it allows you to kind of put something else into the active for free. So I mean, there's all sorts of different ways you can go about this, but kind of what I see Jeff kind of going into using Misty Starmie is that you're hitting for hopefully that 140 for 1. The next turn you might go for 60. But then are you going to hit for 60 every time, or are you going to try to do it again by using Devolution Spray, Scoop Up Net, and then what Pokemon do you have that's going into the active during that time? And playing in a lo-fi water list where you're not having to, put too much energy out, it's definitely possible to kind of buy a turn from Missy Starmie. But how likely is that to happen turn after turn or every other turn after every other turn?
Yeah. This card, I mean, you said it, 140 for 1, really good rate. It's just the what comes after, and you mentioned missing out on the 90 HP. Like level ball is great, but also like missing out on using Rescue Carrier. Like Rescue Carrier is get the basic and the evolution back if this had 90 HP. So the 100 HP is actually kind of a big hit for this card. It would be, I won't say infinitely better, but it would be much better, exponentially better if
Yeah.
it was 90 HP. Opponents gusting around it can probably be a pain at some point. And then if you got Scoop Up in your deck, just hit the Drizzile, man, and just straight dealings again, So it's like, it's been really hard for me to want to make this card work. I think it's really good, and it's really good once, right? And then you're hoping it gets KO'd. Like, I want it to get KO'd. I can Nessa it back and then do it again. The other part of it is, it doesn't quite work super great with Octillery, right? Because Octillery incentivizes you to discard to draw more cards as you turn through your deck. So now you're keeping Misty Starmie in your hand, waiting for a turn when you can, use Sudden Flash and it can be effective. And so, like, now do you switch draw engines? And we saw Tricky Jim kind of, go that route. He ended up going with that power draw Swampert over Octillery because he knew that he was going to have to keep this in hand. He didn't have energy acceleration in that deck, so he knew that those water energy weren't just going to be kind of zipping out of his hand and he could draw more with the Octillery. So it's like, what does this deck look like? And I'm really struggling with it. And I think that, Tricky Jim's list is close, but I still think it's a little far off too from what the optimal Misty Starmie lo-fi water build looks like. And then you look around at some of the other lists that have been kind of performing in the same vein. Akko Blubber's Hydrojet list, which is just this really fast, aggressive, low to the ground water deck. And you're like, does Misty Starmie fit into that deck either? And it's just like, it's a good card. It needs to find a home. I haven't found it yet, and I hope other people will.
Yeah, yeah. It's just one of those cards that could be good, but it might just be a little bit more on the inconsistent side
Yeah.
of being able to get that 140 and then having to keep it alive and recycling it. And you can only recycle it twice because we're in a singleton format.
Yeah.
unless if you lane some stuff back.
I mean, you could like Nessa, VS Secret Nessa. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I mean, like you are probably getting 1 to 2 uses out of it, which is fine. Just like it dictates how you use your scoop up net, so it's gonna make some of those decisions a little bit tougher, right?
Yeah.
But do you really want to play Devolution Spray in your deck? Because like, all right, you Devolution Spray your Drizzile or your Inteleon because that's its alternate use, right? Now that card sits in your hand because you can't evolve it right away, and your opponent's just like Marnie. And again, I know that your opponent doesn't always have hand disruption. I'm just thinking about worst case scenarios here. But like these cards do leave you open to more disruption. So like you're not getting hexed as much anymore because your deck can just kind of, respond with 1 energy attackers that do big damage. But like now your hand disruption is more effective in a way because, you're playing cards like Scoop Up Net and Devolution Spray, which like you can find something to help you get out of that mess, of course. But it's just something to think about when you're building these sorts of decks. So,
Anyway. And you said that your opponent's not going to have hand disruption all the time, but I would argue that they always do when you have what you need in your hand.
Yeah, oh yeah. Whenever you are playing Alolan Vulpix, your opponent has it. Like, that's the thing. Like, if you're playing against water, your opponent has it. Psychic always has it. Psychic always has hand disruption. Marshadow got banned, and they said, cool, to make up for it, they always have Marnie. So, like, no matter what you do,
always.
Here's Marnie. Now they're playing Judge because they got Iron Boulder in their list. Yeah. Your hand is not good. It's gone.
Yeah. And that's even with, I don't know where I was going with this. Never mind.
Sorry. We'll go to
derailed.
We'll go to Misty's Gyarados because as good a card as Misty's Starmie is, Misty's Gyarados just misses the mark in Gym Leader Challenge. It's like look at the top 7, do more damage for each Misty's Pokemon that we have there. There's no good ones besides Starmie. So like Misty's Gyarados, there was such high hope that card would be good.
Yeah.
It's not. I want Misty's Psyduck to be good. Like, if you think about, like, what they could have done with that card, like, the design space that they're trying to stay true to, like, what the anime was. Like, Misty's Psyduck should have, like, a stupid attack. Like, if it's confused, it does, like, a bajillion damage. Just like in the show, whenever it had a headache, it could just use, like, ridiculous psychic powers. Or, like, if it had a psychic energy attached, it does ridiculous damage. I don't know. But Misty's...
that would be real fun, actually.
Psyduck was a miss. And so, just... Come on, guys. I can think of these ideas off the top of my head. Figure it out.
Man, if they would just print busted cards with all of our Pokemon, everything would be balanced.
That's all they got. Yeah, just think about it. If every card was busted, it's balanced. Perfectly balanced. Except Amazing Rare Raikou, that card was busted. Too busted.
Too busted. Yeah, and then we got Huntail coming up. Jeff, I know that he loves this Huntail. I love this Huntail. But Jeff really, especially loves this Huntail. What do you think about this Huntail, Jeff?
Yeah, so Diver Catch is a unique ability. I really like this ability, but we'll get into why I'm kind of down on it. So Diver Catch is whenever one of your water Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack, you get to put all of the basic water energy attached into your hand instead of your discard pile. So cool. It's a bench sitter. Your Veluza or something else gets knocked out. Veluza is probably not a good example of it. Let's say your Wailord gets knocked out. It's got 4 water energy attached. Those energy just go back to your hand. You got a Rain Dancer, you've got Excalibur, Blastoise, Frostmoth, whatever the deal might be. You can just immediately reattach to one of your attackers and get going. So I think that it's great when all of that is set up and you're in a good spot. But let's be honest, if you're in a position like that where you have a Rain Dancer, a backup attacker, and your Wailord goes down, like you're probably in a pretty good position anyway. So are you going to dedicate 2 spots in your deck to Huntail when you're already hoping that things go right? Because if you don't have a Rain Dancer, Huntail is bad. It doesn't work well with Octillery. That energy is back into your hand. You've got no way to attach it. It's made one of your other cards worse by being in your deck. People haven't been playing Space Beacon Starmie, discard draw 2. They've been opting for cards like Superior Energy Retrieval, or just maybe Nessa, Palpad Nessa back, VS Seeker Nessa back, and just doing those sorts of things. So I think the Huntail card, really cool, Josh. I think it's just a card that's like, it's not going to change your bad matchups. You're still going to be in bad positions with or without this card. So it just feels win more.
Yeah, I think it depends on your preference of how you want to build your deck. Do you want to get things out of the discard pile by discarding, or do you want to hopefully be able to just retain your energy through this style? And I just think it depends on the style that you're trying to retain or get things back. Because with Starmie, you can discard a card, Rain Dance, Snom, whatever, or Frostmoth your energy out of hand, and then Octillery for more. But in the case of Huntail, you're not discarding a card, so you're losing out on a card in that scenario. But what if you play Swampert? You're not affected by that at all. And you might just have another card to discard to use with Swampert, like one of those energy cards. You might not need it anymore, and you can just kind of discard that way. I think when it comes to energy retention, it's just your play style. Kyogre is one of those energy retention cards that after you've attacked, it goes back to your hand, and then you're weak to hand disruption then. So you're just vulnerable then. With Veluza or Huntail, you get that energy retention that turn immediately after your opponent has done whatever they've done. And I wouldn't try to play Veluza and Huntail at the same time. You might just go a different route depending on the longer game would be Huntail. The shorter game would be playing Veluza with that, just 2 energy retention with that. But I think it depends on the style, and we'll probably just see people play around with it. I might play around with it. I've actually got a hydro pump list right here in my hands, because I had to build the new Wailord finally. So got that going, and I'm probably going to play some Huntail and see what it's about.
Yeah. And you mentioned other draw engines. You mentioned the Swampert. I think that's like kind of a route that I might go if I was going to play this Huntail. There's 2 other options too that I think are really good. Both of them are stage 2, so they're in the same vein as the Swampert. So there's the Quaquaval, which is put a card on bottom of your deck and then draw up to 5. So that can maybe help alleviate some of those pains if your hand is chock full of energy. And of course, it's a decent attacker. I think 2 energy, 120, which is actually a pretty good rate when you think about, again, roll compression, which is something that we so often talk about on this podcast. Then the other card that I'm really interested in is was it Seadra? Is it Kingdra? There's a Kingdra.
Kingdra.
Yeah, the Kingdra that lets you either pick you or your opponent, and they put their cards on the bottom of their deck and draw 4. So it's like you always get 4 new cards, or you can pick to disrupt your opponent, and then for 2 energy, it does 130. So again, another good roll compressed Pokemon in that same vein that could kind of help get your hand unclogged while simultaneously being a cheap, efficient attacker. So just 2 cards that I'm just going to throw out there that might be better than Octillery in a build like this in certain moments.
Yeah, and whenever we had TCG Live GLC, which that was an ordeal. That was kind of fun. I used the Quaquaval with the, put 1 card in the bottom of your deck, draw up to 5, and it didn't feel bad a lot of the time. It didn't feel terrible. I didn't get to play Octillery, unfortunately, but it didn't feel terrible,
Yeah.
And it kind of made me think about the different type of cards that you could play like over other cards. Is it more optimal, or is it more just does it work better in different situations than others? So it's something to think about.
Yeah. Water is kind of getting into this weird maybe grass situation where you've got all these really cool support evolution Pokemon, and then some of the basic attackers don't quite rise to the moment. Kyogre's busted, but without your support Pokemon, it's not doing a whole lot. Same with Veluza. So I feel like grass and water are kind of we've seen what Pokemon is willing to print in these types, and it's not cheap, efficient attackers. That's what we're not getting. So we're having to deal with like these big synergies, and we're getting a lot of cool abilities, and it's trying to piece together these really cool abilities to figure out what our deck is going to do. And of course, that leaves water and grass both really open to ability lock because they're so reliant on these cards that are being printed this particular way. So I don't know, maybe we'll get some cool, cheap, efficient attackers. Maybe we don't want that. And maybe we don't want fighting to get a draw engine. Like maybe this is what we want from these types for some sort of balance before they get overpowered. So again, hey, I know we got into kind of like a larger discussion there, but just things that pop into our brain as we move on.
Oh yeah. Too much and too little.
Gosh, we care too much about this really niche format.
Hey, we got Team Rocket's Ampharos here. For lightning. I don't think we have many lightning. I think this is the only one we have, but it does have a cool ability, Impulse. When your opponent plays a Pokemon from their hand to evolve one of their Pokemon during their turn, put 4 damage counters on that Pokemon. Of course, it doesn't stack and it doesn't matter in GLC, but that is kind of a cool ability to where you can just have this guy as a bench sitter, and every time your opponent if they haven't already evolved all their stuff, because this is a stage 2, putting 4 damage counters on there every time. So it's like a giant Gapejaw Bog, or
Potown?
There's Potown, and there's just different stadiums that put 2 damage counters or a damage counter on that Pokemon when you play them. Well, whenever you evolve a Pokemon, you got 4 damage counters being put down, and it just really helps on, it really helps whenever you're able to just stack for free damage counters until you're ready to pounce on that attack.
Yeah. This card is one I've been excited about. I've been working with. The thing that it's got going for it is that it is Team Rocket's Ampharos. So you can play this with the other evolution lines Flaffy because of different names. So you still get your Dynamotor with this. So that's something really cool. A little bit of a downside is you have to have your stage 2 in play before your opponent starts evolving to stage 1s. And that's kind of what I see being difficult with this card, is since GLC is kind of like, setup decks are designed to set up ASAP. If you don't have your Ampharos up as early as turn 2, you might miss out on any of that damage. So it might just be a situation where like you didn't get Ampharos set up and all of a sudden you've just got 3 dead cards in your deck that aren't doing much in that situation. Now, obviously, knockouts and your opponent recovering does exist. So like there are moments, and having cards like Potown and Gapejaw Bog could help mitigate that factor and allow you to still get some damage counters on there. It's got decent damage threshold. I mean, for lightning and a double colorless, 140 from Headbolt. And then the idea that I've been kind of floating around with is a list that I kind of tested a while ago, which was this Minim with the Buddy Pulse, and then an Arctazolts that whenever your opponent put energy onto their Pokemon, it did damage counters to it. So like this could kind of be another annoying way to incorporate into that deck where you're just like, your opponent's going to be doing normal things that they do in the game, and your abilities are going to cause them to get extra damage counters. And then, of course, we know that lightning is, kind of geared towards a more spready nature. So you can maybe stack some more damage counters with things like, there's a Toxtricity that for 1 energy does 20 damage to all your opponent's Pokemon and poisons the active. You've got Electivire that does 50. Raichu, of course, does damage to things that have damage counters on them already. So, like, there's a lot that could go into this. It's a lot of synergy again, Josh. You're not playing powerful cards. You're overly reliant on synergy. So I wouldn't expect it to be too strong, but the synergies are fun.
Yeah, and if you want to go even further into it, you could do that stadium that puts 2 damage counters whenever you attach.
Oh,
just
Frozen
to kind of
City.
mess around. Yeah.
And Old Cemetery, too.
There.
I mean, all these cards are right here in my pile, Josh. I'm playing Rugged Helmet, which is whenever your active is damaged, your opponent puts an energy back into their hand. Plus, I'm playing like Giovanni's Charisma as a way to bounce energy. Team Rocket's Flare Grunt, or Team Flare Grunt, whatever that card is, that puts energy from your active on top of the deck. So they have to keep reattaching, and you keep getting the Buddy Pulse triggers. So like it's it's fun. You play like the
Yeah.
Torment, more Pico as well, that can shut off a opponent's attack, but its second attack does 50 to the active and 20 to the bench. So there's like a lot of cool, again, synergies is the word. You guys could probably tell I'm a synergy guy. I love underpowered cards that have synergy. And so,
Yeah.
when I see a card like Team Rocket's Ampharos, I get really excited about like the mix and matching, because I always feel like my greatest like the thing I bring to the table at Gym Leader Challenge is just a massive knowledge of card pool. And so when I know what my cards do and my opponent doesn't, I'm always in a good spot.
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. And that also, like, having a knowledge of the card pool is so helpful whenever you're playing anything, you don't have to do as much reading for one. You don't have to look at that card, but just having that knowledge just allows you to have a one up on anything that could happen, because your opponent, a lot of the time your opponent's not going to know about these very niche cards. Like, I know Arctazalt is a relatively new card, but not a whole lot of people know that what it does, that its energy, that its ability does what it does. So yeah, having knowledge of the card pool is very helpful.
Yeah, yeah. It can sometimes breed a little bit of overconfidence. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that it was read that exact way. Sometimes you kind of have like a mental anchoring where you think a card works a certain way, and then when it
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
work that way, you're like, ah. But we've all been
yeah.
there. I'm a contextual
Man,
learner. I learn by making mistakes, and it makes me better.
yeah, for some reason, at one point, I thought Frostmoth was like Bronzong and it brought water energy from the discard pile. I don't know at what point my brain decided that it worked like that, because I was also playing Standard at the time and using Frostmoth for things. I don't know at what point my brain decided it comes from the discard pile. So I completely resonate with reading a card and being like, "Oh, it works this way," when it doesn't.
Sometimes we see what we want to see, Josh. We see what we want to see.
I did want to see that. I did want to see that.
Dude, a water dynamotor would probably be pretty sick, right?
Yeah, it would be. It'd be super helpful.
All
Oh,
right.
we got some hypno action. Yeah.
Ooh, I just watched this
Sleepy.
Indigo League episode the other day.
I
The
was
one
about to
with
say,
Hypno.
yeah. Yeah, Sleepy Time, man. Sleepy Time. Team Rocket's Hypno. 130 HP, side shot for 1 psychic, but for 3 psychic, you have bench manipulation. Just what Hypno likes it does. It does 80 damage. Your opponent flips a coin for each of their bench Pokemon. This attack also does 80 damage for each Tails. So it's kind of funny. Your opponent has to flip their coins when you attack. So like you attack and then they flip a coin is how I'm reading it.
Yeah.
Is
It's
that how it is?
that is how
And
you're
then for
reading
each
it.
Tails, yeah. And then for each Tails, it's doing 80 damage.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty weird too, because you look at all other cards, you flip its heads successful, right? So
Yeah.
like now you're putting the hands into the opponent, and I was like, is this like the only card like this that exists? And it turns out that this is actually a callback to the original Team Rocket's Hypno that had the same exact wording. And so I think that they're
Really?
just trying to kind of keep into that. Plus, like Hypno kind of inverts things, so like it's definitely like just on flavor.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just so good, so good. It would be kind of interesting because again, thinking back to the Indigo League episode that I just watched, because the last week of school I just put on Pokemon for my kids because I had like 3 kids in
Yeah.
my room like the last day. We ended up watching this episode. It turns out in the anime the drowsy rays cancel out the hypnose ray, so it'd be like kind of hilarious if they added something in like bench manipulation doesn't work if your opponent has like a drowsy or something. Like, like I don't know, something so stupid that like it would never happen, but like cool enough that it might.
Yeah, that's definitely would be funny if that could actually happen. But yeah, there's not a whole lot of things to go with the Hypno. It just does what it does.
Yeah,
And it kind of, it also has some similarities with what's the giant he's just that big old
Brambleghast.
Bramble Gas. Yeah, he's like Bramble Gas where he hits 80 damage for each energy that he has on him. This
Mm-hmm.
is just 80 damage per bench Pokemon that your opponent has. So if they have 5 wide, you have a good chance, but if they don't, there's no way to double your opponents unless if they're playing like Sky Pillar, Skyfield, or whatever.
And if I'm not mistaken, again, I know cards, but I don't have them completely memorized. I'm pretty sure all the like redo coin flip cards say if you flip a coin, redo it, right? But this card is putting your opponent as the one flipping. So I don't actually think it works with like Glimwood Tangle. I'd have to read those cards closer just to double check. But I'm pretty sure it says next time you would flip a coin, you can flip again. And so the fact that this card specifically says your opponent makes me think it doesn't work with those sorts of cards. So worse than the Bramble Gas because it can't go along and have those synergies with those cards.
Yeah. So if you do play, what was the stadium you said? Glimwood Tangle.
Glimwood Tangle.
Yeah. If you would play Glimwood Tangle with this, you would, for one, you would not. But if you did, for some crazy reason, I think you might be giving your opponent the ability to flip for less damage. Maybe, I'm not sure how that interaction would be. It probably might not work that way, but that would be just hilarious if it did work that way.
I have the internet. I should just look up cards. Chat's like, what are you doing, Beish? It's because I got all my screens are being used, guys. Once during each player's turn, after their player flips any coins for an attack, they may ignore all results of those coin flips and begin flipping those coins again. So it looks like because they flipped, they actually would then get to maybe use Glimwood Tangle to flip again if the results were not in their favor. Yeah. So that's kind of funny. So things to think about. That's what the pod's about. Is just finding these weird things, trying to figure out if they work, and just giving you guys bad ideas. Play Hypno and Glimwood Tangle.
Yeah,
let your opponent figure it out.
All right.
Steven's Claydol, man. This is a card I'm not a big fan of, Josh, but you tell me what you think about it. 120, first attack, nothing special, 1 energy, 20, and confusion. The second attack, though, is 3 energy, 2 psychic and 1 colorless. Clay Blast does 220, but you have to discard all energy from this Pokemon.
So you have Steven's Claydol, the new guy. We have the old guy, Latios. So we have old, not old and busted and new hotness, but like new busted in a bad way, old hotness. So I think Latios is still the superior card. We're both discarding still energy. But the fact that Steven's Claydol is a stage 1 means that if it gets knocked out, you can't recycle it as easily as Latios. And with Xatu and Malamar, you're able to get energy on there decently quick. And Steven's Claydol is a little bit more, if you go the Claydol route, you're going to be a little bit more vulnerable to not being able to go back-to-back attacks. With Latios, you would be able to do more back-to-back attacks. And even if it gets knocked out, you can get it back a lot easier. With Tulip, you can get it back with Rescue Stretcher. Get it back with Night Stretcher. So there's all sorts of different ways to get it back. Claydol, you have to wait a whole nother turn if it gets knocked out. So it's not necessarily able to just kind of loop it per se, but it does hit for 220, and 220 is a really good number in the TCG. But it still doesn't knock out the Jumbo Size Wailord or the Journey Together Wailord, which is kind of funny.
It does give you a better shot at them, though, because you think about it, it just needs one muscle band, and all of a sudden it's hitting, the new Wailord, the 240 Wailord. And then with Hex, it does get through the jumbo-sized one. So it does make that feat a little bit more doable from that standpoint. It's just like maybe in like a stage 1 deck, because stage 1 decks did exist at some point, right? Like maybe Steven's Claydol is better. But I just don't see it being played over this Latios. When what's it called? What's the bird? Xatu. When Xatu was first printed, a lot of people were trying out the Gardevoir that doubles up energy. Because now you've got basically 2 accelerants with Malamar and Xatu, and then you can double it up with, this Gardevoir, and then you've got access to Tulip. And so there was let's just have a big hitting basic kind of show up every single turn sort of deck, which was kind of cool and unique when it was coming out. And they were playing this Lunatone that did 30 damage plus 30 more for each energy attached to it. And so, like, if you're going that sort of route, like a double up Gardevoir, like maybe you incorporate Steven's Claydol because it is a better rate than a lot of the other things that deck was playing. So I could see it. I could see it working. I could see it being good against, mentioned those Wailords earlier too. Um, it's just like the matchups that it will be really good in are maybe few and far between enough that like you would just maybe try something different. That's just where my head is at with it. Like if you're going up against a Wailord deck, maybe you just Galarian Articuno and snipe their bench so that they can never get their Rain Dancer set up so that you can win that way instead of just going like, I'm going to punch it one time. So things to think about. I don't know, Josh. This is kind of like, I hated it. And then the more that we talked about it, I was like, yeah, maybe.
Man, how did you flip so crazy?
I'm so easy, Josh. I mean, my opinions are the wind, dude. They
I even tried
change.
to talk you out of it.
Come on, man. But you know what? The problem is I'm a nonconformist. So when you started hating it, I was like, no, I like it now.
All right, man. I'm big fan of it, actually.
Have you ever seen?
Not really.
Have you ever seen there's the South Park episode where they're trying to do a dance off? Have you seen that episode, Josh?
I have not.
Okay. They're trying to recruit these members, and they're trying to recruit goth members into their dance crew. And they're like going to all these goth kids, like, you want to join our dance crew? They're like, no, I'm a nonconformist. I'm not going to join your dance crew. And they get to the last goth kid, and the goth kid's like, I'm such a nonconformist. I'm going to join your dance crew, not like these other guys. So that's kind of how I feel about the Steven Claydol. You hate it now. Kind of like it.
There you go, bro. There you go. And you're going to win your badge with it, and it's going to be fine. All things good.
Badge reset in July. So, hey, we're 1 month away from me being able to play for real again. But maybe Steven's Claydol shows back up.
Isn't it kind of funny the way we're like, whenever the GLC season is going on, you're like, okay, I've won with that deck. Not going to play with it again. But you're like dying to play it again. But you can't because you're trying to go for badges.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun in that way, right? Because, like, that's the great thing about the badge system is, like, I can't play Wobbuffet again and ruin people's abilities. So, like, they know that, right? Like, they know I can't play Wobbuffet. So now maybe they can, like, decide to play something else to get their badge. Or maybe the deck that they were playing becomes, playable again as the meta is shifting. And again, you mentioned the sad part of it. I can't play that deck again. And I've got to try something else. And sometimes you just get stuck on a deck. I think I played Fire like 3 or 4 times and like didn't get a badge any of those events. I was like 2-1 like every single time. And I was like, I hate Fire so much. So it breeds like those sorts of moments too. So I like the badge system and simultaneously hate it. But yeah, it's a short year. So in July, I'll get to play my favorite decks again. Now it's kind of fun too, right? Because like I don't want to show up and win an event and blank a badge. So like I get to just like kind of like brew these fun ideas. Like don't get me wrong, I'm trying to win still. But like I could take my Krabby Water spread deck and like I can play it knowing that like if someone's playing a good deck, I'll probably lose. But like I still will play it to the best of my ability. I get to play my favorite cards and I get to try to win games with something underpowered. So it kind of becomes like a different sort of challenge. Can I win with this deck that I think is maybe underpowered?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. But would you try to build a fun deck with Annihilate? The new Annihilate from Destined Rivals. Stage 2, 150 HP, has the Vessel of Rage ability. Hopefully it is, but these are just translations. If this Pokemon has 2 or more damage counters on it, attacks used by this Pokemon do 120 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon, and then you have the Impact Blow for 2 fighting. You're hitting for 160 during your next turn. You can't use Impact Blow again, but that allows you to hit for 280 whopping damage, which knocks out pretty much everything unless if there's a Lux Cape involved. For the most part. And this kind of mirrors the Feraligatr that we got from Temporal Forces, 180 HP, and it has pretty much almost the exact same thing, except you get they have the Torrential Heart ability, which lets you put 5 damage counters on yourself without having to rely on some outside force putting it on. So, like, Annihilate, do you use Gatejaw Bog? Do you use Rainbow Energy plus something else? Do you just let the energy get put on you by your opponent? Like, how are you going to get that energy on there? For Alligator, just let you put it on there. So, is this card a better or worse for Alligator? I think it might
Way
be
worse.
slightly worse.
Way worse. Way worse. Because, I mean, like, when you think about it, too, there's the Croconaw that with the plunge ability. So when the Croconaw, you can switch it to the active, and you can grab energy. Josh, did I lose you?
No, no.
Okay, cool. Oh, cool. It got all fuzzy. I was like, oh, no, we lost Josh. We lost Josh. Now it's buffering. Cool. You back. All right. But yeah, I think it's way worse than the Feraligatr, just because of that. Like, it doesn't have the Crocodile with the plunge ability that lets it power itself up energy-wise. Then Torrential Heart lets it put damage counters on itself. So, like, the Feraligatr line can do it all. The Annihilate line, it just needs some help. And it needs some help in a type that needs a lot of other help outside of all the help that it already needs. So, like,
yes,
using Impact Blow is great. Like, just the 160 is often going to be enough. The 120 is going to be overkill. And then if you're going to be playing this Annihilate, I just think that the other Annihilate, the one that does 70 times the amount of prizes that your opponent has taken, and that just costs 1 energy, is better. So, I just think that there's other options. Having 30 less HP too is kind of a bummer when you look at the Feraligatr. Like, the Feraligatr's so good. And the Annihilate is just kind of like, yeah. So I like Annihilate as a Pokemon. I just think that there are better options in it. You can make this one work, but I do just think that the other Annihilate that was printed is better.
Yeah, I agree. I just thought Annihilate would be, one of those fun includes, but 100% this Annihilate isn't like the best. But if you've noticed, every Annihilate has just the craziest art and some decent crazy attacks, actually. I mean, this isn't a terrible card, but it's just, the conditions, are they good enough for fighting and stuff like that? But Annihilate is always just going crazy.
Yeah. I mean, give me a good Primate. So there's a couple of good Primates that have like good attacks or like do decent damage, right? There's like one that does damage and gets rid of a stadium, and there's like one that does an attack for decent damage and puts damage counters on itself. So like by attacking, you can meet Vessel of Rage's conditions, but like this is a format of like one-hit KOs trading back and forth, right? So like your Primate's not going to live for you to get into the Annihilate in that situation. So I don't know. It's just like it needs something to work. Once a Primate's printed that works in tandem with this, it'll be good. But I love Annihilate as a Pokemon because like Primate did always feel like it was missing something. Like all the other Gen 1 fighting Pokemon have like gotten something, right? Like you look at the the Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, they added Hitmontop and Tyrogue Gen 2. Machoke and Machamp has always been a good fighting type Pokemon, and Primeape has just kind of been like the stepbrother left out in the shed, and all of a sudden now we've gotten Annihilate, which in the video game is just like stupid strong, great typing, and then that's translated really well into the TCG. It hits hard for not a lot of energy. It's kind of squishy for a stage 2, which again is fine, but I like it. I like the designs that they're going with.
Yeah, and a lot of the new cards that they're printing right now are like hitting the magic number of 280, which is going to be good for some of the new EXs coming out, whether they be basic or stage 1. It just seems like the new magic number is like 280 for some of these stage 2 Pokemon or like different conditional type attacks.
Yeah.
And we'll be seeing a lot of those coming up.
Yeah, I feel like
not today.
We might be raising the ceiling in GLC too, right? Like I feel like the magic number used to be 200. You might have said like in parentheses 230, and then with the new Wailord printing, it's definitely like 240 is where your damage ceiling needs to be. Like if you're gonna one hit KO it, that's the max you need to do. So like we might be getting up to that 280 range, and if we get to that 280, this Annihilate will be the play.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like we are getting up to that, and it makes like your tanky decks almost obsolete because you can't do the tank and heal strategy, and you're investing a lot of energy, whether you're playing like metal tank, water tank, any type of tank, you're investing a lot of energy. As you can see, like here in a second, we're gonna look at this Tyranitar and it has 4 energy attack. And like all these tanky guys have huge attack points. And you're investing a lot, getting knocked out by like a one shot as a tank deck. And that's just not the way it's supposed to work. From my knowledge of a tank deck.
Yeah, right. Like when you can't tank, or when your tanking puts you behind on resources, right? Like you think about how Jumbo Whale interacts with Mimikyu, and you're just like, that is the worst trade on tempo that you could
Yes.
ever have. All of a sudden, their 70 HP basic with 1 attachment is taking care of, my stage 1 that I've invested 4 energy into. It's not equitable. It's not doing what your deck has done. So I feel you on that note. It's a bad beat, and as these cards get printed, you see that more and more. I mean, on the opposite side, playing against tank and heal decks is not maybe the most fun. So maybe Pokemon is printing cards for the fun. That's how you're going to sell packs. So something to
Yeah.
think about. Sorry for my tank and heal enjoyers out there. You guys know me. Spread into metal is awful. So the more people keeping other people off metal, the happier I'll be. I think, we mentioned GLC on live earlier. Every time I queued up against metal, I was just like, concede. Like, let's go to the next one. I'm not getting past this worm. Everyone was playing worm.
Dude, I don't think I played against one metal deck.
Dang, you didn't play enough, dude. I'm gonna be honest. I had a blast. I had a lot more fun on live than I thought I was going to. Even with spread decks without Silent Lab, and I think it's because some of the feel bads cards like Hex Maniac wasn't there, and just decks were like less consistent on the whole. So a lot of the bad ideas that I had could come to fruition. So it was like, I don't know. It reminded me a little bit of when I first started playing Gym Leader Challenge, where it felt like everything was maybe a speed or 2 less, which lets bad decks do their things better. So that's
it was 100%. Yeah, live GLC was definitely like a cesspool of bad ideas just happening. I mean, I don't think many people had good ideas going into it. It was just the craziest, just wild, wild west like decks I've ever seen. It was hilarious. Just introducing people to the format was awesome, and I'm sure if we played more, like if live never ever added things and it was just GLC all the time, there'd be a figured format, but it was just hilarious to me. Like it was more entertaining just seeing just the randomicity of like what what was I going to see?
Dude, let me tell you about this one thing I saw because I remember it. It was hilarious. So I'm playing my psychic spread deck that's, doing damage counters in increments of 20. And my opponent just flops down a Cresselia. And the Cresselia said, for 1 energy, take 20 off of all of your Pokemon and put it on your opponent's active. So I had just spread 100 damage. And then they were like, doop, here's 100 back to your Uxie. And I was just like, I can never win this matchup. So it was just hilarious.
Dude, it's hilarious.
Dude, it was great. Like
that's only going to happen online.
Right? It's only going to happen on live, but then like it sits there and you're like, bringing new people into the format brings, a fresh perspective. So, we're sitting here maybe laughing at some of the ideas that we saw. Like there were some terrible ideas. Like you could tell that some of these people were like going through their card pool and just like seeing what cards they had recently grabbed and weren't like crafting anything new, but just like throwing like their colorless cards together or their lightning cards together because that's what they already had in their storage just to play casual stuff. But like seeing this Cresselia was busted. It was like, dude, if someone is playing spread at my locals, that's the card I'm going to play to mess with them. So it's just cool when people are playing cards that you're not accustomed to. And that's what I really enjoyed about it. And of course, queuing into Gym Leader Challenge is something we haven't had in like 2 years. So like, please give me matchmaking, give me Gym Leader Challenge on demand. Those are things that I am 100% a fan of.
dude. And I was getting beat out by some decks that were I was just like embarrassed by. I was like, oh my goodness, what is happening right now?
Dude, I feel that too. Again, you got to take the fun with it. It was
Uh-huh.
fun. It was a fun 2 weeks, dude. I hope that they bring it back. Like, if there's one thing I can say, just from like seeing how the community responded to it, you are really the one who got me into even attempting it because you're like, dude, just be a number. Like when you said that, like just show
Yeah,
them that people want it. And I was like a little reluctant. I didn't want to put the time into it, and then I
yeah, yeah,
did. Dude, it was fun. It was a blast. So
yeah.
I
I
hope that they bring
honestly
it back.
didn't want to either. I was right there with you, but I was like, I gotta be a number to kind of get this going,
Mhm.
and it kind of helps.
Yeah, yeah. So did you? It sounds like maybe you didn't have as much fun as I did, Josh. I had
No,
a
you definitely
blast.
have more fun than I did.
Okay. I wonder, did you play a lot on PTCGO back in the day? Did you have a lot of Gym Leader Challenge decks built?
I did. I had about 3 or 4 back
Okay.
then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean I had a ton of old cards. Like one of the things was like I didn't have to craft that much to get like new decks. So I was wondering if that maybe had played a factor, but it sounds like you probably had a pretty strong card pool. So
No, I
anyway.
got like 100. I got 187,000 credits, man. I am so TCG Live wealthy. It's stupid.
You're gonna have all the X and Y cards when they put them on.
Oh,
Eventually.
100%, man. Max rarity too. Max rarity. All right, tell me about this Team Rocket's Tyranitar.
Oh, yes. Please. A good Tyranitar. So, like, this has been a weird thing for us gold and silver lovers. If you're a Gen 2 lover like I am, having Tyranitar be rock and dark type has been like the worst. Because, like, we have an excellent dark printing of Tyranitar. But you can't play it because the basic and the middle evolution, the stage one, are both fighting type. So you can't play that really busted Tyranitar in Gym Leader Challenge, which, it's a feature of the format, not a
Yeah.
something bad. But I've been waiting for a Tyranitar that's playable. So this one is kind of playable. So this is Team Rocket's Tyranitar. It's got the Sand Stream ability. During checkup, it basically puts 2 damage counters on each of your opponent's basic Pokemon. And then it's got a huge attack. But Josh, you mentioned that 4 energy attack. It's 1 fighting, triple colorless. It does 180. And then you also get to discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. But like, it's 180 damage. So like, I don't think you're
Yeah.
ever going to really be using that effect. Obviously, in standard, it might be more reasonable, but here it's just like you're never going to be using that. So I don't know. It's a really good card. Josh, what are you thinking about it?
I think it's pretty cool. Definitely. I mean, I spoke about it, and it's like you got to get it out quick. And there are multiple different ways with your Arvin, your Karina, and just different cards to be able to get your rare candy and the Pokemon. But you got to get it out quick because it only works with basic Pokemon. It's really similar to the Wheezing, where in Pokemon Checkup or in between turns, you're putting 1 damage counter. In Tyranitar's case, it's 2 damage counters, but you just got to get it out really quick before your opponent starts evolving their Pokemon so you can stack that damage. But I didn't even cross my mind about the Hitmonlee like you have right here. Twister Kick, 10 damage to everything, and then you switch it back up in there. Of course, you would have to have a switching effect with your Team Rocket's Tyranitar to get it back out, possibly, whether that be Float Stone or just switching cards, because we know the Air Balloon's not going to cut it. Um, but yeah, it's one of those cards that definitely, like you said, you love Tyranitar. You're definitely going to play this. I think you even might play it soon, won't you? But like, it's definitely got some potential, and because Wheezing, it is a stage one, had some pretty good potential early psychic spread. Because I remember playing against the Wheezing a lot and being like, man, I got to get going early. And a lot of the time, there's still basic support Pokemon that people use. Like we talked about the bench barriers at the very beginning. This guy will get rid of your bench barriers in just like a few turns, in between turns, because it's in Pokemon Checkup. So like from your partner, it might do 2 turns, and then you've knocked out 60, 80 HP Pokemon pretty easily that are basic. So it's got some definitely has a lot going for it, and I think it's not terrible. It's not gonna probably not the most consistent archetype, but definitely a fun archetype.
Yeah. I mean, fighting spread has been pretty good for a while now. You think about Hitmons. You could even do the hit and run into Tyranitar, which is pretty cool if you were thinking about going that route, which is, again,
Yeah,
probably not optimal, but something cool you could do from the Hitmonchan. It's something to do too on turns that you don't have much else going on. If you have Tyrogue on your bench, which Tyrogue has free retreat, so it does help you get into this Tyranitar. You could do the coin flip from the Tyrogue that on a successful heads puts 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and then because you retreated that to the bench and you have Tyranitar in the active, all of a sudden you're doing 3 onto one Pokemon and then 2 to all their basics. So it's like, it's cool for it to be able to do something on turns that you don't have a lot going on. It's got this synergy with this Hitmonlee that you talked about. Twister Kick is 10 spread everywhere and then swap to the bench. So like there are definitely attacks that work out like this. Yeah, it's just like, I don't know. Like, how are you getting 4 energy on the Tyranitar to make it useful? Like, is it Raihan plus reversal energy? Are you even caring about that? And then we kind of thought that it would be pretty cool with either of the Archeops that have been printed, Josh. You talked about the new one in our build up, and I talked about the old one, which just stops all Pokemon from devolving. So if you get Team Rocket's Tyranitar in the active, attach TM Devolution, devolve, and have your Archeops up, all of a sudden you're spreading to their basics, their hands full of unplayable cards. You're pretty good. I don't
yeah,
know. Things to think about.
yeah. There's definitely different ways you can approach it. 100%. Then we got Team Rocket's Arbok. This one has seen some excitement from others. We have the Intimidating Glare ability. If this Pokemon is in your active spot, your opponent can't play any Pokemon that has an ability from their hand. That's excluding Team Rocket's Pokemon. So if you have other Team Rocket's Pokemon, they can evolve it. Now there is a Pokemon that is very similar to this. I cannot remember what that Pokemon is, but I just know that the ability or like that act is really good and it super helpful in being able to slow down your opponent, them having to waste resources to get this Team Rocket's Arbok out of the active so they can then evolve. And then when you pair it with, this technical machine devolution here, you can have it in the active and then devolve and then slow them down even more. And then you have to find another way to get them out of the active. But I'm actually this Team Rocket's Arbok, I might not build it, but it makes me happy to see that it is a spread Arbok and that it while you're keeping them from evolving, you can use this to also just get damage on there as well. I think it's cool. I like this card. I might not build it, but you and I are both big fans of spreading damage just everywhere. Even though I'm like a big tank and heal guy, I on the other hand love spreading like a wildfire.
Both ends of the spectrum, my friend. You got them both.
Yes. 100%, man. 100%.
So yeah, I like this card. I've got it built right here. I'm probably gonna play it tomorrow at some point.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because like it's got 2 different uses. You mentioned it can be a good spreader, right? The triple dark is gonna be tough. Like you're gonna have to play like Janine's and like Dark Patch and like you might even need like a reversal energy in your deck for the spinning tail attack to be decent. But like the other spreaders for Team Rocket's Arbok aren't like are super great in dark. So like the 30 everywhere is actually like the best rate I think you're gonna find in a dark spread deck. So like that's nice. And then you also have the like it can be a stally thing. So it can serve 2 different purposes, and it just so happens that both of those purposes can kind of work together in a spread game plan. So I think that it can work. I think it's a lot to happen. It can feel cheesy at times, like if you're all in on it. Like if you're setting up your game being like, I'm going to Team Rocket's Arbok. Like, I don't think that that's what the card is for. I think you have to like find moments in games when you think it's going to be good. I don't think it's something that you like make your main game plan. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, that's fine. If it ends up just being kind of a stall mechanic because your opponent is a turn away from putting down like Drizzile or Inteleon, like it might be cool to like throw this up in the active. Like you can find your moments, but dark spread is like an archetype that's still kind of emerging. I got my dark badge with it. I know someone at Full Grip Games, I think it was JD, got their badge with it. So I think that the deck is getting there. The more pieces it gets, the better it will be. And this is just another piece to put into that puzzle. I'm excited to see where it goes going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, the next card that we're going to go over is a card that I liked and I found while I was playing the Build and Battle pre-release decks. I was like, oh sweet, this thing has like a snipe attack for a spread deck. So it's Team Rocket Sneasel, 80 HP, so searchable for level ball. Yeah, it's not hurting us for the buddy popping because you kind of want this later after you've spread. So we're not too upset about that. And then we have Backstab. And this it's 2 dark energy. You can use the energy we'll talk about later to kind of pay for this cost if you're not using it with Arbok. But this attack does 20 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each damage counter on that Pokemon. So if you spread a lot of damage, this guy's just your cleanup hitter. And he's just going to be able to just snipe guys on the bench left and right from all the damage that has been spread. And, we got a Voltalt here and Absol, slowly spreading that damage. We have the Arbok that we saw earlier and just simply spreading. And whatever you have left, this Team Rocket Sneasel is easily going to be able to kind of just snipe them on the bench. Something that you can kind of think about is that it's also slightly, you're not necessarily looping it, but it might be a little bit easier to get it back through Rescue Stretcher, Night Stretcher, just things to be able to get it back, and then maybe Raihan 2ing it, and then being able to attach an energy to be able to, backstab again, unless it's still there and it didn't ever get knocked out. So I think Team Rocket Sneasel is just one of those cool snipe cards that will kind of elevate the spread deck.
Yeah. And that's one of the things, like spread can be disruptive, right? But like normally spread goes behind and then is able to capitalize on cards like In or Iono, Reset Stamp, cards like Counter Catcher as well to trap things in the active. But there's not really like a good way for a lot of spread decks to like get rid of important Pokemon on the board just because damage output isn't there. And that's something that Dark Spread really struggles with. Like, if Octillery is just sitting there on your opponent's bench and continuously drawing them cards, they're going to be able to see more answers to what you're doing. So being able to like spread a couple turns with Absol or Yveltal and then show up with Team Rocket Sneasel to take, hey, I'm going to get rid of that, take a prize, maybe get something important off of my prizes if I need to, and disrupt on the board is kind of important. And that's what the deck has been missing. And so I think it's really cool that Team Rocket Sneasel is getting printed. And then it's also another reason to play Team Rocket's energy. If you're playing the Arbok and now you've got Team Rocket Sneasel, you can kind of justify that spot a little bit more than you could if you were just playing the Arbok. So I think this is really cool. And then that's one attachment for Backstab and you're going.
Yeah, I love Sneasel.
And you get to play the other Sneasel, because the other Sneasel evolves into the Rule of Evil Weavile that does 60 to everything with an ability. So it's just like, things are coming together, man. Pokemon loves the Sneasel, man, because they just gave us free retreat Sneasel too. Like we're getting, so much Sneasel and Weavile love. It's like Sneasel and Zoroark, like get so much love, and I like that because those are 2 really powerful Pokemon in Dark.
Oh yeah, and we got we'll talk about that in the future, but a new Zoroark coming out. That one's a pretty good one as well. Kind of a combination of 2 of the more famous ones in GLC.
Why play? Why have a choice? Just play the new one. We'll talk about that one.
Oh yeah. Then we got Team Rocket's Nidoqueen, or not Nidoqueen, Nidorina. Yeah, Nidorina. Hey, tell us about this Nidorina while I go take a quick break right quick.
Cool. Josh is gone. I get to talk. No one to filter me. We did it.
Don't tell him my secrets.
All right, let me tell you guys about Josh's secrets. All right, he doesn't have any. But hey, this Nidorina is actually kind of cool. I'm including it because we're going to be talking about the Nidoqueen coming up here. But being a stage one with the ability to kind of help you out is always beneficial, right? So this Nidorina, 90 HP, so it's level ball searchable. 2 energy retreat cost, weak to fighting like all dark Pokemon are. But it has a really cool setup attack. So Dark Awakening is basically just evolution on a stick. So you can choose up to 2 of your dark Pokemon, which of course, if you're in Gym Leader Challenge, all your Pokemon are going to be dark if you're playing this Nidorina. And you can just evolve them into their next stage. So it's just really cool to have that roll compression here and maybe not need technical machine evolution as much, especially if you're leaning into kind of like what the other Nidoqueen and Nidoking do. Because I think there are going to be some people that try to play Team Rocket's Nidoqueen, the Nidoqueen and Nidoking from 151 as well. And we'll see why when we get into this next card coming up. And I'll go ahead and flip the screen as Josh is settling in here. And it looks like, yeah, hey, you're back. We just talked about the Nidorina, so we're just getting to the Nidoking, Josh. And so we moved on. We moved on. You don't get to talk about technical machine evolution on a stick, but you do get to talk about Team Rocket's Nidoqueen. So 170 HP on a stage 2, 3 retreat cost, heavy ball searchable. You knew it. And of course, it's got 2 decent attacks here. The first attack is 1 dark energy. It's called Love Impact. And it's 60 more damage, and it does 120 more if you have any bench Pokemon with Nidoking in its name. Now, the second attack is pretty good too. Dark, and it does 130, which is a pretty important threshold in Gym Leader Challenge. So the cool thing with this is it does work with the 151 Nidoking. So it does get that extra 120 HP boost if you're playing the Nidoking. The issue is it doesn't work in reverse. So the 151 Nidoking says if you have Nidoqueen in play, you get to ignore its energy cost. But unfortunately, it doesn't count Team Rocket's Nidoqueen simply just as Nidoqueen. So it works one way, not the other way. So if you wanted to play these two, you would also probably have to incorporate another stage 2 being the regular 151 Nidoqueen into your deck as well.
You can just play 4 stage 2 Nidoking, Team Rocket's Nidoking, Team Rocket's Nidoqueen, regular Nidoqueen. You just go ham with that.
And Phantom Transformation Zoroark, just so you can loop one of them.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I don't got a whole lot to say about these guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to pull off. It's like cool, right? Like, I want to do it. And people were calling this deck like the harem deck because you have, one Nidoking and maybe you're playing the other 2 Nidoqueens with it.
Yeah.
But like, it's just a lot to ask for in an archetype, or at least a type that only has trade Liepard as its consistency onboard engine. So like, it's just going to be so hard to pull off. But cool. So if it's in your wheelhouse, if you love Nidoking and Nidoqueen, you can play 4.
Oh yeah, please, somebody do it. Just like the Macargo, instead of 3 mags, you got 4 Nidos.
I think
call it the Nido deck.
Yeah, I grabbed them. I went ahead and ordered them from Japan, so they're playable maybe, but I'm gonna definitely try them out. Plus, they're just cool cards to have. This set has been kind of on point for art. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been really enjoying the art from this. It's kind of old school in a good way.
Yeah, they saw that TCG Pocket just had incredible art, so they were like, "Well, I guess we're gonna have to make the IRL Pokemon cards look even cooler as well."
Yeah, I mean, Pocket's been kind of like it's felt like it's reinvigorated the hobby in like every way, right? Like they've got cool arts on Pocket. Pocket is actually a really well designed game. It is kind of like a cash grab gotcha, but like you can definitely free to play it and still have a good time.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of these artworks, people have been using them to make custom cards too. So it's been kind of cool to see that too from the custom card community.
Yeah, some of those cards, I am so upset that they don't have them IRL, man. It is just crazy. I hate it. Like the card work looks so good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the way that they've taken some like lesser known Pokemon and like put some pretty cool like known abilities on them, like the superior having, you know, jungle totem. Venusaur's jungle totem ability is pretty cool. Like there's finally a format where there's a good superior for people to play. So that's kind
Yeah.
of cool to see too. So Pocket's a win
Yeah.
for everyone, I feel like. So go play Pocket.
Uh-huh.
Just don't spend a lot of money
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. If you've heard of water having hydro pump and you didn't know that Dark had hydro pump, then you might be living under a rock, maybe. I don't know. I completely forgot that Dark had hydro pump in the form of Hydreigon, where you can basically just put dark energy out onto one of your Pokemon. But we got Marnie's Morpeko, and Marnie's Morpeko for 3 energy has spiked wheels, does 20 plus. This attack does 40 damage for each dark energy attached to that Pokemon or this Pokemon. It is Buddy Buddy Poffin, so you can get it quick. Um, does that really make it or break it? Not a whole lot. It's not necessarily a setup Pokemon, but it does allow you to get it a little bit easier. But just load up this guy. You get for 3 energy, you're already doing 140, and then the more you put on there with the Hydreigon, you're going to be able to, essentially do what water hydro pump does and get some massive damage depending on how much dark energy you got on there.
Yeah. I mean, like obviously doesn't have the consistency pieces that water does, right? You're missing Drizzile, you're missing Irida, you're missing even, a good draw engine besides Liepard. So all of that. But what you do have in Dark is you do have a ton of free retreaters. So this Marnie's Morpeko is got free retreat on it as well. So you couple, this Rain Dance Dark idea with maybe some cheap, efficient attackers in the early game, and you think like, hey, maybe I can just blow something big up later when I need to. That's kind of where I see this deck going. There's a couple of other Pokemon. I think there's like maybe an Eviltal. I might be wrong in this, so don't 100% quote me on this, but there's definitely other Pokemon that do more damage based on dark energy attached. So Dark Squall definitely might be an idea. I still feel like it's probably like 1 or 2 printings away. Dark has some pretty cool, like, specific trainer cards that work pretty well with this. Like, Piers gets you a Pokemon and an energy. So, like, if you're getting Hydreigon, you can at least get, like, an energy to help attach already. Janine's is kind of cool, too. If you're already playing a ton of energy in your deck, you might not necessarily need to Rain Dance them. You can Janine's to attach energy. And of course, if you're going to attach a ton of energy, you get to attach it to Guzzlord, right? Which is like one of the best Pokemon to be able to accelerate early or late or to reuse over and over again too. And so I think that this will just play to what Dark does well. It's just like, how consistently will you be setting up? And I hope the answer is often, because I would love to see this kind of, fill the void after the bannings. Let's see some Dark Squall Dark.
Yeah. But after that, that's pretty much our last Pokemon that we had to talk about. We got some trainers coming up. We got a reprint of Sacred Ash with an errata. So now we can shuffle up to 5 Pokemon and not 5 Pokemon. And sometimes, like when you're in a pinch, you don't necessarily want to put all Pokemon in your discard pile back into the deck. You might just want 1, 2, 3. But Sacred Ash kind of gives us that ability now. And then beforehand, you either played kind of Sacred Ash or Super Rod. Super Rod gives you that up to also, since it was errated. So Super Rod was just one of those ones that kind of gave you a little bit more flexibility with being able to choose how many Pokemon, where Sacred Ash was like, you're putting 5 Pokemon back in the deck, buddy. I don't care who you are. But so now we have that ability to put that in there. And this would be more for Crazy Code Colorless, Sacred Ash. Super Rod might still be the better choice in a turbo or something that uses basic energy as a form of accelerating. So it just depends on what type of colorless that you're playing. I think this will be better in.
Yep. Again, that's the only deck I've really ever seen it in, is the Crazy Code Colorless list. Cool that it got errata. Gives me hope that we'll get a Rescue Stretcher errata in the future, because it's pretty annoying that Rescue Stretcher is also Shuffle 3 instead of up to 3. So maybe that will happen. Maybe that's on the horizon. But
we're never getting that card again.
I hope the hope is there, man. Night Stretcher is pretty good though.
Yeah, we got Night Stretcher. We're never gonna get Rescue Stretcher again.
Give me Rescue Stretcher. Give me Rescue Stretcher. It's such a good and flexible card. Just give me the errata then. Don't reprint it. Give me the errata.
Yeah, let's just get the errata. Be like, hey, I know this is out of rotation by many, many, many years, but just errata, please. Give me that up to.
They're still making expanded rulings in Japan, so they're our only hope.
Yeah. We got Team Rocket's Giovanni. I was a little upset whenever they announced this card because I was really hoping to have a boss, just a gust form of Giovanni, just like another boss's orders, but another new Giovanni, because that Giovanni boss is kind of getting up there in price. And I was like, okay, here's the opportunity. But no, it's just a Guzma for Team Rocket's Pokemon. So switch your active Team Rocket's Pokemon with one of your benched Team Rocket's Pokemon. If you do, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So for this to work, you have to have 2 Team Rocket's Pokemon, which really the only deck that you're really going to have that in is probably going to be most likely Dark, because that's going to be the most likely viable way you're going to be able to play Team Rocket's Pokemon at all in GLC, like multiple. So it's just another form of a Guzma, but it allows you to actually pull up a non-Team Rocket's Pokemon in the actual on your opponent's side. So that's at least good. But to have this work, you have to have 2 Team Rocket's Pokemon. So it's not going to be great, I don't think. It's just threw this in there because of the Team Rocket's Pokemon we talked about earlier.
Yeah. Feels like a miss, but like, again, GLC isn't in the mind of the people creating these cards. So I get it. But again, it makes me a little sad for all the points that you just said. Come on, give me a good Giovanni. And also, do we have to say Team Rocket's Giovanni? Like, I guess we're adding this as like a tag. But isn't like Giovanni Team Rockets? So shouldn't it be like Giovanni's Team Rocket? I don't know. Just saying.
Yeah, you got a point there. That's another one. You've had 2 points this podcast.
That's a new record, dude.
Team Rocket's Factory, again, just threw this in there because those Team Rocket Pokemon, if you played a supporter card with that Team Rocket's Pokemon in its name, you get to draw 2 cards. I think you get to play it. You get to just draw whenever you decide. I don't know if you have to draw directly after there. But in Standard, this is going to be a pretty good card. And GLC, unless if you're playing multiple Team Rockets support, then you're not going to be playing Team Rocket's Factory. You're better off playing Scorched Earth and throwing in a Fire Fighting in your deck. Yeah, because that's about how many Team Rocket supporters you're going to have in your deck to begin with.
Yeah, just not viable. But like the cool thing about this is like, you know, there's been like a couple of different. I know we had like Dark Pokemon, and now when we had Team Rocket's Pokemon, now we're having Team Rocket's Pokemon again. So like, there's always a hope that we'll get more, right? So like, this is just a card to like set aside in the future, and like hopefully Gym Leader Challenge is going to be a thing, which I'm sure it will be a thing in like 5 or 10 years from now, and they'll maybe reprint some more Team Rocket stuff because there's more product than ever. So again, keep this in your bulk bin. Again, there will be a Team Rocket deck at some point. It just depends, like, you know, we'll have to roll up in our wheelchairs, Josh, and then we'll have our Team Rockets deck with us. You know,
Are you going to the trampoline park too?
Oh yeah, of course. How did you know? I'm already there. I went one time. I'm already injured.
You know, Jeff, you're the bomb, and since you are the bomb, tell me how this Team Rocket's Venture Bomb works.
Yeah, flip a coin. If heads, put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If tails, you put it on yours. So it's definitely kind of like a bomb. Like, I picture this card as like someone's holding on to it and they lit the fuse and like someone distracts them, and that's where the coin flip comes in. You know, do they remember to throw it or does it blow up in their face? And so that's what this card does. and it's kind of cute and it's funny. And will it work? Like obviously my mind goes to spread decks. You're trying to put damage on places, and then how can you make the self damage, if that ends up happening, work for you? And of course, we've had these Monkey Dory, Cofragigus spread decks kind of pop up, where like you're okay kind of doing damage to yourself because Monkey lets you shift it back to your opponent. So like Team Rocket's Venture Bomb could potentially be an extra 20 damage, which is going to allow you to maybe KO a Pokemon, take a prize, get you closer to winning. Or again, you can just put it on your Monkey Dory. You do have to put it on your active, so you might have to put your Monkey Dory in the active. But Monkey Dory does let you shift it from any of your Pokemon. But Monkey Dory kind of gets rid of that the downside of playing it. So I do think that this card, again, might only want to be played in Monkey Dory Cofragigus list. But I think there's enough people out there that it's worth mentioning. At least that enjoy that
100%
deck.
agree, though. 100% agree. Play this in Monkey Dory list, or if you're a crazy, play in any list you want.
If you're playing that Cresselia, play it.
Play it. The worst that can be done is that you attack for 20 for
Busted.
1 energy.
Busted.
Colorless was on top of the world of the GLC meta not too long ago, and they heard us and they said, hey, here's a direct counter to your colorless Pokemon with abilities, and they printed Team Rocket's Watchtower, which just cancels out all your opponent's colorless's abilities, so they have no abilities, which kind of mimics Path to the Peak that we saw in Standard not too long ago. And then Pokemon League Headquarters is just like one of those disruptive cards where your opponent's Pokemon have basic Pokemon in play costs a colorless more. So if you really wanted to stick it to colorless, you can play Headquarters, you can play Watchtower, and just watch your turbo colorless player really try to figure out what they have to do now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You trying to attack for free with that Hop Snorlax? Nah, I got Pokemon League Headquarters in play, bro. Trying to use that Squovit? Nah, bro. Team Rocket's Watchtower. We got you. This card's cool, dude. Like, I think Kalos is still pretty good. Obviously, at the time of filming this, we are 1 day off from, I say 1 day, 2 days off from the next big Full Grip Games event, right? So, we'll see if Team Rocket's Watchtower is a card that people decide to play, if colorless is still top dog, if it's worth playing. But this is like, hey, there's that one guy at your locals that's just been ruining everyone's good time by playing their turbo colorless over and over again. Everybody just needs to buy a copy of Team Rocket's Watchtower. And you're just like, cool, no way that guy's going 3-0 if every single person has this card in their deck. So it's cool. Obviously, stadiums could be bumped. So, like, it's not going to be like a forever solution, but does it buy you those turns to get you where you need to go? And then when you think about it, especially when you think about the turbo list, like, if you're going to play Team Rocket's Watchtower, is Silent Lab also not just like as good enough? Maybe not, just a more flexible card in that same spot? Because, like, Squovit, Oranguru, the Snorlaxes, they all have basic abilities. So, like, is this card better than Silent Lab in terms of like being better across all matchups? And I don't know, and people haven't been playing Silent Lab in their non-spread decks yet. So I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be a true counter or not, but it will definitely be fun for you to ruin one person tonight at your locals if you so choose.
Oh yeah, and I mean this will turn off Crazy Co. This will turn off Lazy. This will turn off just some of those. Bibarel, Chinchino. It'll just shut off a lot of that. So if you are playing Silent Lab and you want to straight up annihilate colorless, you just play both.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for them to bump both. I'll tell you that.
But I mean,
not impossible.
That may make your deck less consistent and a little bit worse, but at least you stuck it to colorless.
That's all that matters sometimes.
If that's the deck you're trying to beat, it doesn't matter.
It's the deck deck we're all trying to beat. Still.
We just got rid of double energies, Jeff. We just got rid of twin, double colorless, And then what does Pokemon do? They say, "Hey, we printed some Team Rocket's Pokemon. Let's make a double Team Rocket energy." And basically, this will pay for Psychic and Dark costs. It only works for Team Rocket's Pokemon. So again, it's very niche, very much like the Double Dragon Energy, where it pays for. Except it's not a double rainbow. Double Dragon Energy is probably just the best double energy ever printed. But Team Rocket Energy kind of fills a nice void slot for the Team Rockets. Sneasel, Arbok, maybe you're playing the Nido Queen, and that'll just give you that double energy spot without having to worry about taking 20 less damage now that that is the only one available to us now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you said it. It's a double energy. It exists. The Pokemon that it can be attached to are fine in Gym Leader Challenge, at least. So I don't ever see Team Rocket Energy being an issue. I look at it a lot like what Rapid Strike Energy is, the double Rapid Strike Energy. It was fine. It was kind of funny that card didn't actually work with the Rapid Strike Starmie, though. So I'm hoping that there's, Team Rocket Energy works with all the Team Rocket cards. I'm hoping they at least got that part of it sorted out. But yeah, I'm definitely going to be playing it in that dark spread list I mentioned too, just because I've got, two kind of important combo pieces. One being that Team Rocket's Arbok, the other one being the Sneasel that we just mentioned. So I think it'll be fine. I wonder if we could just get single energies. Like, what if there was like a Team Rocket single energy that gave you both like Psychic and Dark? Or like if we just had, you have double Dragon Energy. What if we just had Dragon Energy be like a thing? And maybe it has like some sort of downside. Like if we could just get rid of all double energies and just have single energies, but like maybe rainbow single energies that worked in specific moments. I don't know. I don't know if that would be better, but I'm still on the I don't like double energy side. But I think it's just like give every type one or don't give every type one. It's just like, why do we just do it in certain times?
Well, we got, Rainbow Energy, Aurora Energy, Luminous Energy.
Yeah.
And those are just like, what?
Those
I mean, they're really good.
They're dragon energies. Just make them dragon energies. They're fine.
Just call it Dragon Basic.
Yeah.
Basic Dragon Energies.
If you print them as dragon energies, we can like ban double dragon energy and like maybe keep the dragon people happy. I know that getting rid of DDE would make a lot of people upset, but I'm sick of getting Raging Bolted on turn 2, dude, or turn 1. I'm so sick of it.
Hey, Raging Bolt was your baby. Remember that?
I know, dude. I know. I played it really early on, and I noticed pretty quickly how good Raging Bolt was. Maybe not quick enough. Like I don't think I saw that card when it got spoiled and I was like, that's broken. And then the more I thought about it, and the more I've seen it played, and the more I play it, and the more I play against it, I'm just like, how is this card as busted as it is, and how is it like single-handedly making me get rid of all these 60 HP basics from my deck? I just want to play the Sobble that gets Rapid Strike Pokemon to my bench. Just want to play 60 HP Sobble. It just feels banned. So anyway, I'm not like too upset. I'm just gonna play Bench Barrier. If I'm gonna play competitive, I'm gonna make sure I got my 70 HP basics. It's not the end of the world. Double Dragon Energy is fine, but like it just feels like Raging Bolt is soft banning a lot of cards that I really enjoy that have like unique spaces. I get it. I'm not gonna complain about it anymore, Josh. We're done.
Yeah.
I'll play 70 HP basics and I'll be okay.
Yeah. Which brings us to open discussion on Destined Rivals. We got some topics here like what do we think is going to be the most impactful? And honestly, I don't think anything in here is like super duper impactful besides possibly Blaziken or maybe that Shaymin. Shaymin has some good potential to help boost grass up, but Blaziken also has the potential to boost fire up. So there's just potential there. Most impactful. I don't think it's most impactful, but it could be a card that we don't think was going to be too impactful. Like we don't know how this Huntail is actually going to play out until we see a lot of people play it. So that's kind of my thoughts on like what card is going to be most impactful.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there. There's like the sexy choice is Blaziken, and then like the safe choice is Shaymin, right? Like I think that's where the impact is going to be felt. Honestly, I think, even in between those two cards, I think Rapidash might be the most impactful for, what is already going on, right? Like what Fire already has going on. Just being able to unconditionally draw into what Macargo gets you is just going to feel so much better than just having to rely on Salazzle. Weeder, I saw some comments about from him, being the architect behind extreme speed and just being like, maybe you play both Salazzle and Rapidash, and maybe you get rid of like trekking shoes or some of these other like kind of draw cards that you had to make space for this Pokemon. Maybe you play both. So I really think that, as far as impact goes, Rapidash is maybe my sleeper pick. But again, Blaziken and, Shaymin are there too.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned Rapidash, and honestly, I think Rapidash would belong in the most played because we'll see a lot of play with a lot of these different cars like Shane and Blaziken, especially. But if we were to pick and choose which of them is going to be played in more decks, I would think that the Rapidash will be played in more decks than even Blaziken because there's just more versatility in Rapidash and its synergy with Macargo, and you can play that in just like that combo in more fire decks than you would a Blaziken spread deck or snipe deck.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm going to agree with you there too. And there's not a lot from this set that's setting the world on fire,
Yeah.
pun intended. But Rapidash feels like it. So I do think that it will be the card that most people will be trying out and that will stick around. Because I do think that other people are going to try some of these other cards out, but I don't think they're going to quite stick in the format the same way that Rapidash does. It feels like a pretty safe pick to just, continuously see.
Yeah, 100%. And then going into overhyped card, I think.
I feel like we both know what it is. I feel like we're both going to say it. Do we need to do a 1, 2, 3 again, like we did that one time? You feeling it, Josh? You feeling it? No. All right, go ahead and tell me your pick.
I don't think it's together, but we're gonna do it. Okay. Well,
all right.
3, 2, 1, say it. Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Team Rocket's Arbok.
Pokemon. Oh yes, we're close. We're so close.
All right. I said the Arbok.
Team Rockets. I said Team Rocket's Pokemon.
Okay, all right. You said all the Pokemon. All right. Give me a reason behind all the Team Rocket's Pokemon.
I just think Team Rocket's Pokemon are just not where they could be for GLC. I know in Standard they're going to be pretty good. Team Rocket's Pokemon are going to be pretty decently good, especially some of the cards we don't have access to, like the EXs, and we don't have access to that in GLC. But I mean, Arbok is really cool. I like it. It's really cool. I think it's just a little overhyped, mainly because it's decently easy. Although you're wasting resources to get it out of the active, you're most of the time when you get it out of the active, you've done the thing and it's too late for them. Unless if you're just running behind top decking and not getting anything. Team Rocket Sneasels, I think, is the best one, but even then, it's not the best because it relies on all the spread that's possibly happening or not happening.
Yeah.
So that's just some of my reasoning for Team Rocket's Pokemon on top of the most unusable trainer cards besides the Bomb and Watchtower.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you to the extent, obviously, that I picked one myself, Team Rocket's Arbok. Now, again, you see synergies, right? You see all these synergies happening, but they are a little underwhelming to a certain degree. I see a lot of people excited about Team Rocket's Arbok. I think it's a good card. It's a cool design space. It can do cool things. It can stop your opponents from playing the game. It can advance your spread game plan. So it's a flexible card. It can do a whole bunch, but at the end of the day, 3 energy is a big investment. Getting a Devo TM on it, relying on your opponent to even be playing a Pokemon with abilities, and getting down your Arbok before they get those things down too. It's just going to be tough at the end of the day. So I'm going to pick Team Rocket's Arbok. I'm really sad, and if we were going to have another sad category here of like overhyped but really sad about, I really wanted the Team Rocket's Crobat to be kind of incorporated into Gym Leader Challenge. Like when you look at that whole line, it's like it's reminiscent of like the Psychic line, because we have a Crobat in Psychic back when Poison types were considered Psychic that did like similar, like when you evolve, you put damage counters on things. So that Crobat like gets to put the damage counters and then has like a pretty good attack. And then the attack, like after you use the attack, you can put all those cards back into your hand. So you could, pitch, and put those damage counters again by evolving it back up. So like I think that if they just printed that card at not an EX level or whatever the Crobat is at, it would have been really cool, and I'm really sad. And I think that would have made the synergies between those three cards, the Arbok, the Sneasel, and the Golbat Crobat, so much better. And it just doesn't work in Gym Leader Challenge, and that's why specifically those cards are overhyped, in my opinion.
Yeah, which overhyped doesn't mean bad. It just means the most overhyped card that possibly won't live up to the potential that it's being had.
It doesn't mean good, though, Josh. It doesn't mean good.
Yes, that too. It's all sorts of things happening with the overhyped cards. But whenever it comes to what?
I was gonna say, if you think the Rockets Pokemon are overhyped, I need to hear what your favorite card is. So what's your favorite card from this set? Because I'm definitely going for one of the Team Rockets cards as one of my favorite cards.
Really? Blaziken, man. Blaziken, hands down. I love Blaziken. I love Blaziken as a starter. 3rd gen, awesome. And it just, Raccoon Incarnate does some cool stuff, balanced. I'm excited to see what it does for fire.
Yeah, I almost picked that card as my overhyped card, if I'm going to be honest with you, the Blaziken. I like it. I think it's good. I think like what people loved about the Raikou, they're not going to get that same sort of feeling from this Blaziken, because it's going to be much worse. So I almost picked it as overhyped, but I do like that card. I actually hate Blaziken as stage 1 and stage 2. The Torchic is baller. I love everything about a fire chicken. And then the second that it grows legs and learns karate, I'm like, you lost me. You lost me.
Dude, he was the guy who I picked. I was like, Blaziken, that is one cool fire chicken, man.
I mean, I picked Torchic too, but because Torchic is awesome. Torchic is a chicken. And then all of a sudden it's doing like kung fu, and I'm like, you're a fire person dressed as a chicken. I don't want that. I don't want that. I want
chicken cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want chicken Bruce Lee. I want I want a phoenix. I want a fire chicken. Like that's what I wanted. Torchic peak design. I don't even know what the other starters from that region were. Tepig was Emboar's also awful in my opinion. Because of the same thing. Cute pig, great design, into like wrestler pig. I don't need wrestler pig. And then Swampert is okay.
Yeah. You had a Sceptile.
Oh, was Sceptile the grass one in that one?
The grass, yeah.
Why are all those ones bipedal? I don't like bipedal Pokemon. I think that's what I'm learning. Like the less bipedal, the better.
Yes, I do agree with that, because also the last few years I have not liked some of the Pokemon designs. Like Inteleon might be busted, but I never really liked the design of Inteleon.
I didn't like any of the starters from Sword and Shield.
Same thing with Quaquaval, and like the more human the cards are, the less I'm like, let's step away from this a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, are you just putting people in Pokeballs?
Like, Blaziken at least, I don't know. I can't defend it. It's like Sobble. I was about to say at least it's a chicken, but Sobble's a frog, Inteleon's a frog.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, it's weird too, because like I actually kind of like Alakazam as a Pokemon too. But like if you think about it, like Alakazam like can like speak and has like a high IQ. Like we're just putting a person in a Pokeball at that point, like with Alakazam. So it's just weird. I don't know what my opinions don't matter.
Yeah.
All right,
last Pokemon I'll say, Jinx and Mr. Mime. You got some weird things going on there.
Yeah, I don't care for those two very much, but I do like some Alakazam and some Kadabra. All right, I still gotta talk about my favorite. It's Team Rocket's Bomb. Dude, I love that card. You guys know me, I love spread. I've been kind of digging these Monkey Dory decks. When in live, I played a Monkey Dory spread deck a lot on live when we had access to that trainer trial. So I think that card is going to be my favorite card to try out. Whether or not it sticks in the list is not, but that's okay. I mean, it's not my favorite because it's good. It's my favorite because it does things that I enjoy. So we'll check it out. We'll play it, but that's my favorite card. Let us know, by the way, what your favorite card is from Destined Rivals in the comments section below. We would love to hear about that from all of you. And at the moment, too, just take a little bit of time to drop a like and maybe a subscribe for us, too, if you haven't already done so. Anything you guys can do to support the channel would be great. And Josh and I both appreciate it a ton.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was going to say, man, maybe I should have said this at the beginning of the podcast whenever everybody was there. But if you made it this far, 100%, you love it, you like it, you subscribe it, you share it with a friend. But, this has been the Unfazed Facts podcast, the podcast dedicated to Gym Leader Challenge. I'm Josh Benson. This is Jeff Bache, and we hope you have a great week. And, tune in to the Full Grip 3K coming in. And, you have some cool things about the cards. We'll see if these cards or anything that we said kind of lived up or down with its with what we thought how the cards would perform. But other than that, see ya.